Hey, I'm Carly Shiraki. I'm one of the hosts of Sunnyside Up on Sprout, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it!
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Happy here with us. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Duffenbaugh. And today, as always, our co-host, Chris Bixby. How's it going?
Doing good, Jake. Doing good. Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Doing great, as always. Chris, thank you for asking.
Wonderful. Yes, we have a wonderful interview for you folks. Any of you Sprout fans will definitely appreciate this one. Jake, why don't you tell everyone a bit about it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. Today's guest we have in this episode is Liz Filios. She's an actor, host, teaching artist, writer, and composer. A lot of things that she's done. Of course, we'll discuss all of those fields throughout this chat, including her involvement in a previous Kids Sprout blog, The Sunnyside Up show, as one of the hosts. Additionally, we'll also discuss getting to work with other hosts, the celebrities that made a guest appearance on the blog, a project that she's done currently in recent years, and so much more. So without further ado, enjoy our chat with Liz. See you then. Hello everyone, welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Today we have with us is Liz Filios. Welcome, happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Delighted to have you
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. Yeah, pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. So, to kick things off, we know who you are, but for those who don't, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name is Liz Filios, and I am an actor, a composer, an educator, and a theater artist.
Nice, nice. So now, I guess kind of starting off from the beginnings, how did you first, decide you wanted to get into performing and making a career out of it?
Well, my first connection with performing was theater, and I had some opportunities to do that when I was very young at school and in community theater, and I just fell in love with it from a very early age. And I think that my parents saw that that was what I really wanted to be doing. At first, they had put me in ballet, and it wasn't quite the right fit for me. You know, when the ballet teacher told all of us to walk like little ducks in a row, I was the only one who knew how to quack and flap my wings like a duck. I was only 5 years old, but I was convinced that I had figured it out, and tried to get all of the other little kids in ballet class to quack and flap their wings along with me. Needless to say, I was not asked to return to that ballet class, and I found theater to be a more appropriate outlet for yeah, my creative energy.
Nice.
That's great. I'm kind of curious, where did you got to train for performing?
So I was really lucky to have voice lessons with a wonderful teacher from an early age who mentored me and helped me train vocally and also instilled a lot of discipline in me, and confidence that really carried me through. In in college, I attended the University of Michigan, and that's where I studied musical theater, and that's where I got my degree.
Nice, nice. So
Awesome.
was there any like advice you received, as you kind of broke out into the industry?
The first piece of advice was one that I received from a teacher when I was actually in high school, but it stayed with me. And it was just an acknowledgement that the performing arts can be sometimes highly competitive,
Hmm.
and that it's dangerous to succumb to that. Um, he said we should try to think of ourselves as racehorses, and we should put on blinders. and never compare ourselves to the people that might be next to us in another lane, but only measure ourselves against our own progress. Measure yourself against yourself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
Of
yeah,
course.
success can be a very difficult thing to quantify, and that piece of information stayed with me because as I progressed in my career, I began to get the most excited about jobs where I could say, "This is the hardest thing I've ever done." And then when I got to the next job, I would go, "No, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. No, this is the hardest thing I've ever done." And
Yeah.
yeah, that's been something that has helped guide me and keep me humble and curious and excited to keep learning and growing.
Nice, nice.
That's great. So now I'm kind of curious. I mean, kind of still in the kind of like a beginning side of things. What was your kind of like your beginnings into the performing industry? What was like first sort of things you got to do, or if that makes any
Um,
sense?
well, it's there's been lots of performing in my life. When you bring the word industry into it, it changes things, right? But that
Yeah.
doesn't discredit all of the art that I was making before I was doing it for money. So it's hard to delineate because I wouldn't be the person that I was um, without community and friends and the people who influenced me, who just happened to be around me, being great artists. Um, in terms of work, I guess I graduated from college, and did uh, I did a program in Italy. This wasn't a paid program, but it was an sort of a training intensive for young artists, and and I learned a lot there. And from there, I went to South Africa, and I was an apprentice for the Cape Town Opera Company, and I was around lots of professionals, and I just I had had the opportunity to briefly visit Cape Town and just soak up some of the music and the art there. And I kind of said to myself, there's if there's art like this being made in the world, I just want to be close to it and learn as much as I can from it. Um, and so I got to go and do that for a little while. And that also wasn't me in the industry, but it was me sort of near the industry and around lots of industry professionals that I admired and I learned from and I observed and went, "Oh, this person is incredibly kind and grounded, even though they're a big star." Or, "Oh, this person, is a big bully and I don't want to be like them." So you just
Right. Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah,
people that you
exactly.
want to emulate and the people that you learn from. And so, yeah, the first several years of my career were kind of like that, just starting to try to gather the people to me that I was inspired by. Um, and then and then I started auditioning more in Philadelphia, and I started to find a creative home and people that I cared about and admired and wanted to make things with. And so I learned a lot, and and that started to lead gradually to gigs that paid a little bit, gigs that paid a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Right.
I
Right.
remember I did have to make a really serious decision at a certain point in my life where I had to go, you know, um, I can't do any more work for free. I have to value myself, and that means that I have to turn down these gigs where I'm not being paid, and make myself a professional. And if I don't think of myself as a professional, then nobody else will either. So I guess you could say that that's when I started to break into the industry, is just when I decided now I'm a professional. I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, I've got a lot of um, experience under my belt, and I started auditioning for bigger paid roles. and eventually started getting cast in them.
Nice. Nice.
Great.
And that's actually a perfect segue. So on the subject of auditioning for things, how did, Sprout come into play? Like what was the audition process like for getting on the Sunnyside Up show?
For me, it was a funny kind of unique process because I was in a show at a small semi-professional theater, and we were doing Singing in the Rain, which is the
Oh
stage
yeah,
that
of
was based
course.
on the
Yeah.
film.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I was playing Kathy and having a lot of fun. And one of the other cast members was this woman named Betsy, and she happened to work at Sprout. And she was a producer. And she and I started just carpooling and going to the theater together every day. And she and I had met before a couple of times. She had seen me in some other plays, and I had actually auditioned for her for another television thing that I didn't get, but she remembered me. And so we got to be friends. And every once in a while, when we were driving to rehearsals, she would talk about work. And she would say, "Oh, I'm coming up with this new idea for a cooking show called Noodle and Doodle." And she was working with Sean, of course. And
Yeah.
Yeah, great show.
this is
Yeah,
the
Sean.
story.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
she was trying to just at the very beginning stages of brainstorming that. And I had worked as a nanny for quite a while, and I had three younger siblings, and I had spent a lot of time around kids teaching summer camps and whatnot, lots of classes. So I loved kids, and I loved coming up with fun, creative projects and games for them. So I started suggesting them to Betsy during these car rides. I would say, "Well, have you ever tried, making a tambourine out of a paper plate, and you can put some beans in it and staple it up, and just you have a little shaker there? Or have you ever thought of maybe," and it's just through the course of these conversations of us just tossing ideas around just for fun, she went, "You should come and audition for Sprout again." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And she was like, "No, no, you really should. I'll let you know the next time we're having auditions." Because it was fun just coming up with ideas for the content. Um, and so we did Singing in the Rain. The show closed, and I didn't have any more car rides with Betsy anymore. And so I missed her. But then one day I ran into her. It was in the train station. And I was about to get on the train, and she was
Oh,
actually getting off the same train. So we just crossed each other in the
Oh, that's funny.
station.
oh
Wow.
wow.
Yeah, and like you don't have a lot of time because those trains, especially at rush hour, there's a big crowd and they come in, they only wait for like a minute and then they go. So we only had a few seconds to talk, but she was like, "Hey, there are auditions coming up next week. I'll email you." I was like, "Oh, okay, bye." And suddenly the train, had to leave the station. And so she sent me the information, and I went in, and I got a call back this time. So they had me come again, and the second callback, I got to be in the Sunshine Barn with Chica.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
And this was my first time meeting her. Um, the puppeteer at the time was Ed Pokrovsky.
Right.
And,
Right. Yeah.
um, he just sort of popped into the nest, and up came Chica. And she looked at me, and I looked at her, and she went, "Squeak." And I was like, "Hi." And she was like, "Squeak." And I was like, "I'm good. How are you?" And she was like, "Squeak." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Me too. I love the color blue." And we just started like making up a conversation. We just started playing. And I remember the director had to actually interrupt us and be like, "Sorry, we have to start the audition now. Can you just?" And we were like, "Oh, sorry. We were just having a conversation." But it went really well. And I remember when I got home from the audition, I called my mom, and she was like, "How did it go?" And I was like, "Good." she's like, what do you mean good question mark? Was it good or not? And I was like, well, I think I speak chicken. And she was like, oh, well, congratulations. I was like, no, yeah, I felt like I understood her. I don't know how, but maybe it's just from like hanging out with lots of little kids who are still sort of like developing their language skills and don't
Yeah,
have the ability to
Yeah.
articulate. And you kind of have to like really listen with your whole heart. And um, so I just kind of did what I do with little kids, and it worked and it made sense, and I got the job.
that's awesome.
That's wonderful. I know you kind of like briefly mentioned a little bit of Ed just a minute ago, but like what was that kind of like getting to work with the other co-hosts and puppeteers for that block?
Oh, they were so inspiring. Um, it's hard to, I mean, it's hard to like really say how inspiring they were, because it was just kind of, there were pictures and quotes from Jim Henson up on the walls in the dressing room and in
Oh
the studio and
wow,
all
Oh, that's
over.
awesome.
Yeah, and you
that's
just
great.
knew that this particular group of people was special and that they were there for a reason. Um, they were there because they loved it. They were there because they cared and because they believed in something. They believed in a vision that Jim Henson was one of the pioneers of, and that the work that we were doing was important, and that if we put all of our care and love into it, then it would come through. And that was kind of just the way that we operated. Um, I think you've probably been explained this before, so I don't want to over explain the way that things worked, but you would
No
get paired
worries.
up a host and a puppeteer,
Yeah.
and you would have a prep week, right? Where you would
Hmm.
write all of your
Yep.
material, and then a week where you would be on air together, and then a week off, and somebody else would be on air that week.
Yeah.
Um, Prep weeks are where we would watch all of the shows that were going to be part of that week. And then we would try to create an educational through line for the week and go like, well, how does this episode of Thomas connect to this episode of Sesame? And like, what's going on
Okay.
here in this show that we could connect to an activity that we do? And
Right, yeah.
Right.
so sometimes that meant we were making crafts or recipes. Sometimes that meant we were playing games. Sometimes that meant we were writing songs. We had a really wonderful studio engineer named Tim who would come
Tim Burns, right?
and we would go into the studio
Yeah. Oh, he's
and
great. Yeah,
like,
he's wonderful.
we have this idea. Um, and it sort of goes like this, da 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 da,
Yeah.
and he would just immediately like make it a reality and turn our song into something incredible. And we had a lot of fun in the recording studio. We had a lot of fun, making things in our own little makeshift kitchen. We had an incredible props team that would build whatever it is we dreamed up, and it was all homemade. We had an incredible graphics team, so if we wanted to interact with, you know, cartoons or images in an imaginary world that appeared and disappeared, um, the limit was just our imagination, and we were all constantly making each other laugh when we were working, um, and goofing around. And, it was hard to believe that that was our job and we were getting paid to do it sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 it's great. I mean, talk about like the people that you got to work with, kind of like how that group is like so special because like that you're part of something special that it's like, that time when I had something like a live channel back in that time, it was it was so new and
Yeah.
how to like how it can all worked out with like a transition before like how it can work before that particular show is on or something like that. That block itself, I mean the whole channel, it is like very simple and special, and all, but Sunnyside Up, it means like it has like more to that because we're each host will like just interact who's watching it, and then
Yeah,
do lots of activities. Makes who's watching, who's a kid with one of their parent, can have fun just watching it, or
Yeah, and sometimes they would have like kids call in and stuff too, like whenever they would do like the like Valentine's Day events or something
that's
like that.
or
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so sweet. I remember that some of those live calls where we would ask a kid, "What are you thankful for?" And they would start going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Oh
And then
my,
you have to get to like the next call and stuff.
we
Yeah.
were like, "That's great." Yes,
it's
the
great,
live,
but we gotta get the next person because of
Yeah.
time restrictions.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Right.
also wanting to make every single one of them feel special. I
Exactly.
remember
Yeah.
one of the producers told me a really good piece of advice, which was when I looked in the camera, when I looked directly there, I shouldn't talk to however many millions of kids. I should just think about talking to one kid, as if there's
Hmm.
like just one person who's very special on the other side, sitting in front of their TV, and I'm having a conversation with them, just one to one. And that was a really good piece of advice. And yeah, the fact that it was live gave us the opportunity to really personalize it in a way that was so special, and read and hear and receive messages from kids in real time. And I just loved that about it. There was one time where I was able to read a birthday card that belonged to a kid that I actually knew in real life. And I
Oh
remember,
wow!
yeah, it was so special. And as soon as the segment was over, and we were off air, I had a little break and I got to step out of the studio and I called their family, and everybody was screaming. And I was like, "Is everything okay?" And they're like, "Yes, we're so excited." Lily's bouncing up and down on the couch and Jonah's crying, and everybody's like, it was just amazing because you don't
Oh
usually,
gosh!
as a host, you don't get that kind of opportunity to follow up and see exactly the kind of
Yeah.
impact it makes.
Yeah.
I knew after that phone call that it really was huge, for them to see themselves on TV and to be talked to and acknowledged as like real people and important people in this very special television world. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even when I saw myself on television for the first time, I cried a little because it was so weird. And
Yeah. Can
Right, seeing
imagine. Yeah.
yourself on screen, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but amazing too. Like I can't believe that's me, and I
Yeah.
think it's probably felt that way too. Like, oh my gosh, that's me. And that was maybe the best part of the whole thing.
It's awesome.
That's wonderful. I mean, like for what Forrest, Harding, and Brandon and other hosts,
Yeah,
Tanisha, Sean, Kelly, and Carly. I mean, they're such wonderful people to be a part. For you to be a part of that with them, especially that they can like tell you even just a little advice of how you can do when you
oh,
first start out. Or, yeah,
oh,
like they really show how they really just love what they are doing in their involvement doing
yes,
it, not just with Chica, but I mean, not just like kind of how like Mr. Rogers type of way that you just have a conversation and just
Yeah.
you're special and you know that, but it's just like that you are you just get it.
yeah. Thank you very much. They were amazing, and they all took me under their wing in very different and distinct, meaningful ways. Kelly actually gave me like a whole packet that she had written. It was like a dissertation on, on Sunnyside Up and all the things that she had learned the hard way, written out in black and white. It was
Oh my
incredible. Yeah,
gosh,
it was such a
Mm,
gift.
it's awesome.
she's great.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of curious, do you have any favorite segments or songs from the Sunnyside Up show?
Oh, so many. I mean, I remember when we got to do songs, that was really special to me. I I came up with a lot of songs and wrote a lot of lyrics, and to let it go from just being something that was in my head to something that's like made real with music and color and light and animation and Chica. That was really really fun. There was a song. It's one of the few that I kept um, that I held on to, and I was like, I want the footage for this. I'm gonna hold on to it. um, and it was a K-pop tree song that was inspired by the book, The Great K-pop Tree by Lynn Cherry.
Right.
That was a really fun, special one for me. There was a song we wrote for moms on Mother's Day. There were, the sequences where I got to bring family on were really special. Both my mom and my dad got to be cameo visitors on Mother's Day and Father's Day,
Wow.
respectively, at certain times. I think my dad got to talk once about being a pilot and how airplanes work, and Chica and I played with an airplane, and that was really special because it was just a big part of my childhood, and so to pass that on, like the wonder and the imagination of flying, and how that seemed impossible at one time, and now it's something that people do every single day.
Oh
um,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, just kind of imagining all of that. There were a couple where I got to hang out with the other hosts, and that was also really fun. Whenever we got to
Yeah.
get together to sing something, I think Kelly and Denisha and I did a trio of "The More We Get Together" once, and we like put it to a really fun beat and sang in three-part harmony.
Right. Okay.
Oh, cool.
That was really fun. And of course, meeting all the guest artists that came into the studio was always.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which we'll mention
Yeah.
talk about that in a little bit. There's so many good ones, but of course you can't forget the Happy Birthday
Of
song.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like the some of the segments where it usually happens most of the time where we read the birthday cards
Yes, the birthday
And
cards and
and the
really good.
DIT.
Yeah, do it
do,
together.
do it
I still
together.
think about
Right.
that. That little jingle, do it together, be
Yeah, and of
happy.
course, Dress Chica.
Yeah.
Dressing Chica up. Dress Chica was a lot of fun. Guessing things. Mr. Mailman was a lot of
Oh yeah,
fun.
of course. Yeah, I remember Mr. Mailman.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the segment that it was only kind of just only was like that segment only really just for you and Chica, which that's really which is really interesting. We just called Liz on location.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we did a few of those where we go and visit a special place and talk about how things were made or where they came.
Right.
Yeah.
That was sort of inspired by Mr. Rogers because he used to do that a lot, we
Oh
go
yeah,
to
right. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that and yeah, him and Mr. McFeely to kind of like talk like Mr. Watch about certain things like crayons
yeah,
and you know so many other things.
yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
That's great. So now that's actually kind of a perfect segue with in regards with the celebrities that you got to work with. I mean, appearance on the sign up. What was that? What's that like? Getting to work with them that got to appeared when you're doing when you host on that
Oh, it
on
was like a
them.
big party. I remember there was one Thanksgiving special that we did, and Star was there, so Stacia got to come.
Station
Yeah.
Newcomb, she's
Stacia's
so
awesome.
great.
Yeah, and just like we were just constantly laughing. She would just say things that surprised us, and it was hard to
That's
keep a
that
straight
Star can say, but not Stacia. Yeah.
Yeah.
face. Yeah, there was one segment where I got to meet Barney, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Riff too.
Yeah, yeah, how that all exactly how that worked. I think the guest artist that made the biggest impression on me was Leslie Carrera Rudolph, who does Abby Cadabby.
Yeah, Leslie. Yeah,
Such a sweet,
yeah.
sweet lady. We've had her
She's
on
so
too.
great. Yeah, Abby Kadabi got to be
Yes, like just has
guest
this
star.
bright, radiant light. And I actually got to go up to New York and see a show that she wrote and performed called Wake Up You're Weird, which, if you have never heard of, you should ask her about.
She's so brilliant with that stuff. She does a lot of her own like cabaret shows. She's just
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, but it was
she's the
really
best.
creative and weird, but in a good way, in a way that just
Right.
embraced. silliness and imagination and encouraged kids to play and be themselves no matter what. And yeah, the messaging was so strong, and it just felt very empowering for kids and for adults.
That's awesome.
Yeah, of course. And Patty from the Sprout Sharing Show, Noodle from
Yes.
New and Duel that you just mentioned about that show earlier, and
Yeah.
and there's a time that when you already talked about with Abby, you got to met Kevin Clash,
Yeah.
With
which Elmo got
Elmo.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
where both with which finding out that both Forrest and Kevin got to co-wrote the Kwanzaa Candles
Song,
song.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin's great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
He's
and Bean from the Super Sproutless show. There's so
yeah.
many.
Yeah. She was so sweet and really fun to sing with.
Yeah, that's
Which
awesome.
which she's so is she was she also like the same actress who did the second Stephanie on Lazytown?
I don't
That's a
think
good
so.
Corey
question.
Lang. For no reason, I remember there's
I don't
something
think
like
so.
probably that person who just made it, put it on there, just like I don't know. Or
'Cause I think the Super
actually, it might
Sprout
have been
show
one
came before,
IMDb thing.
because I think that show came before they recast her.
Mm.
So I
Right,
don't think it was her.
right.
Yes. So now I guess overall, what are some of your, I guess, biggest highlights from, working for Sprout?
To be honest, one of the biggest highlights was not something that happened on TV.
Oh,
Um,
really?
well, two things I would say. One of them was every once in a while, families would get to come to the studio. We would have a VIP guest who would come and
Right.
visit us.
Hmm.
And that was unique because even though there was a strong sort of like sense of play and a childlike spirit in the studio at all times, there weren't actually any children most of the time. It was just grown-ups.
Yeah,
And we were just imagining the
Hmm.
kids and sometimes getting emails from their parents and photos, but every once in a while a real life kid would come in and meet Chica, and that was really magical. I remember there was a song that I had written where a monkey made the sound of ooh, ooh, ooh. And this woman,
Okay.
she brought her baby in. This was a little toddler. I mean, I don't know, maybe like 14 months old, very small. And she was holding this child, and she said to her daughter, "What sound does the monkey make?" And she made the sound from the song that I had written. And it just blew my mind that something that I made had taught somebody how to to sing or make a sound. And I don't know, it seems very small and very simple, but that was a highlight for me. Whenever I got to interact with children for real. Sometimes we would do special appearances.
yeah,
Um, there was
Right.
one day where we got to go to Sesame Place and
Yeah. Okay.
do
hmm.
sort of like a live appearance there and read a story. And um,
That's
then
great.
kids would line up to come say hi to me and Chica. And they would stand out in the beating sun in the middle of July for an hour just to get an opportunity to meet this little chicken. I knew I was just kind of there. I knew the real celebrity was Chica, but it was so humbling. And they would come, and parents would put their kids on my lap like I was Santa Claus and just trust me with their little ones. And um, it was like they knew me because they had been watching me.
Yeah,
Um, and I was just meeting them for the first time, but they came to me with so much love and so much trust.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and that was a highlight.
That's great.
And then the last thing I would say
That's
is
lovely.
every once in a while, the whole crew would go out for something called a sprouting, where we would take an outing as a team, as a sprout team. So sprouting. And one of our sproutings was to New York to the Sesame Street studios.
Yeah, right.
We
Yeah,
got to
there's
go, yeah,
yeah, I did see like a couple pictures that you and some of the other hosts got to like visit the set and all that, which that was so
exactly.
great.
Yeah, we got to go to the Jim Henson archives. I ran into my college roommate who was working there and I hadn't seen her in years. And it was so wonderful to be reunited with her there and go like, oh, I knew that we were sort of like always the same in here. And here we are doing jobs that we're crossing paths years later. And then when we went onto the set, they were recording something with the three little kittens who had lost their mittens. And the human
Okay.
cast member that was on set recording that day was Gordon. I don't know if,
Wasco Orman.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
awesome.
And he stopped and said hello to us after he finished shooting on a break. And it was, first of all, it was really gracious and generous of him to take his break time to come and talk to us. But honestly, it was the most starstruck I've ever been in my life. And I just looked at him and kind of teared up and was like, I've known you my whole life and you don't know me. But I feel like you helped raise me and it's such an honor to meet you.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, that was another highlight, I would say.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Um, so now kind of like moving on from Sprout, of course you got to do a lot of stage acting work. Now, can you kind of talk about some of the stage acting work that you've got to do?
Sure. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to perform on stage and plays and musicals and cabaret and Shakespeare. I've had the chance to perform in Philadelphia and in New York, in Washington, D.C., and in LA
Wow.
and Chicago and Florida and all over. I've had the opportunity to travel um, and do things internationally, performing in other countries, and um, I just love it.
That's awesome.
I love theater. I think that yeah, the thing that made those highlights at SSU highlights, having that connection with like live audiences and real
Yeah.
people. I'm lucky that I get that every single time I do theater, and I think that's why I keep coming back to it.
Hmm. It's kind of an interesting
That's
question.
great.
Like, does anyone like still like recognize you from Sunnyside Up at all?
For a long time they didn't, but just recently I've had several people um, bring it up, and this is so funny to me, but in addition to performing, one of the things I do is teach, and I teach all different age groups from preschoolers all the way up to postgraduates. And I was teaching a university course last spring, and the chair of the program came in and he introduced me to the students on the first day of class. And they were all sitting in the front row and sort of just looking at me like, these are college like juniors and seniors, um and he was like, this is Liz, and she's an actor and a composer and teacher, and she's done this and this and this, and oh, by the way, she also did this thing called the Sunnyside Up show. And this girl in the front row just went like her jaw just dropped.
Oh my
um
gosh.
and I was like, wow, I guess it's been a minute. And now those kids are all grown up. And yeah, I have encountered a couple of young adults now who are like, I used to watch you. And it's so funny and yeah, it's surreal.
That's great. So
That's
now,
awesome.
what would you say are some of the biggest differences from, acting on stage to acting in front of a camera?
Um, Acting on the camera, in front of a camera is a more um, it's a more direct medium. The camera controls where you look and what you see, and also a lot of things. Our show is an exception because it was live, but most camera on camera things are edited, so you do it in small pieces. And you can do multiple takes if you mess up sometimes. Not when it's live,
Yeah.
but when it's pre-recorded. Um, and you can be very quiet and very small and pretend like you're just talking to one person. Theater is the opposite of all of that. You know, you memorize a whole show from beginning to end, and you perform something that is sometimes hours and hours long, and you perform for a huge audience sometimes in a very big space, and you know your voice is different, the way you move is different, and the most important difference, of course, is the response. When you tell a joke, people laugh. When you
Yeah.
play a dramatic scene, people might cry.
Yeah,
They feel
right.
things with you, and they all sometimes magically feel the same thing all together, different versions, because everybody has their own sort of interpretation of whatever story you're telling.
Right.
But for a whole room of people to feel something together is a uniquely theatrical experience, and I think it's a really powerful one.
Nice, nice.
That's wonderful. So now, this is really interesting. So, in recent years, you actually got to create a story time in the Zoom room. Now, what was it kind of like a transition from, your days at Sunnyside Up, how it's just usually just on camera and just talking to, one kid, right?
Yeah.
One person, right? Now, what's it kind of like, do you kind of have an idea to start that video
Yeah.
series?
Storytime in the Zoom room honestly was something that just, like a lot of people, started to throw together whatever they could in the wake of lockdown in 2020 to try to connect, and that was my attempt to do that. I had a friend, actually, a voice student of mine, because I sometimes teach singing and voice classes, and she had a 5-year-old daughter, and they had been in lockdown at that point for, like, 2 or 3 weeks, and her daughter was kind of going crazy, getting the zoomies, like, climbing up the walls, as they say, just stir crazy and not having anything to do or anyone to talk to. And so she messaged me and she's like, so my daughter and a few of her friends are going to hop on a Zoom at 3 o'clock today. Do you want to come on and like sing a song with us or like lead some kind of activity? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm not doing anything right now.
Hmm.
So I hopped on, and it was just me and like 5 or 6 little kids in this Zoom room. And I said hi, and a lot of them were sort of like, hi. And then I was like, you want to sing a song together? And they went, yes. And so we did. It was very simple, but the spirit of the thing was very familiar to me. And so we did it.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we got off the Zoom, and I texted my friend, who was the mom of the little girl. And I said, that was really fun. Can we do it again tomorrow? And she went, yeah, why not? So it was really just like a play group. And then more and more people got invited. And as it started to grow, I started reaching out to a lot of my friends in the theater community and also old friends from the Sunnyside Up show. And they all came and just donated their time and talent to offer something to these kids to help them stay connected and keep socializing, because it's so important for young kids to have that. And they it was a big loss back in 2020.
Yeah,
um
for sure.
and so,
Yeah.
yeah, the idea was just to give like a free sort of like reprieve for parents who are trying to parent really hard at home while holding their jobs together from home if they could, and this gave them a little break, and it gave the kids a little time to connect, and it just kept growing, and it just became exponentially more beautiful and fun as it went along.
That's awesome. So now what kind of inspired you to make it like an interactive kind of thing? Did you take like any inspiration at all from your Sprout days?
Oh my gosh, I mean, Sprout was where I learned all of my tricks. So absolutely, it was definitely, it felt like a little bit of a reunion in some ways, and it felt like, I did this like 10 years ago, and I have these skills that are just sort of like sitting around not being used right now. And it feels like this is a moment when they might actually be of some use to somebody, and make a really big difference in a lot of children's lives. So yeah, I think that it was very similar, and that was the idea.
That's awesome.
That's great. That's wonderful. So now, since we're kind of actually gonna get close to wrap things up soon, can you kind of like share anything that you've been working on now, or at least that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of teaching these days. I just taught this morning actually before coming to chat with you all. Um,
Oh,
Wow,
nice.
and I still love working with very young kids, like the Sprout age group. So my youngest students today were 2 years old, and
Oh, nice.
up
that's
3, 4,
great.
5, and 6 year olds. So we sing together, we play games together. I still get to do a lot of the same stuff, but now I'm just doing it on a smaller, more personal scale.
And
I
yeah,
really
'cause yeah, I was just gonna say like actually with,
actually with the
kids.
kids
Yeah,
in real time.
That they didn't got to do and
as
Sprout
much with
days.
Sprout, yeah.
Now like we have this whole like a reaction when
Yeah,
we did something, you
Yeah.
yeah,
know. Because that time you
exactly.
have no idea if it's gonna work out or not because it was
Yeah,
just kind of little studio and just you with Chica. But now when you're doing like Zoom Room for example, now you got the response like right away
get
if
the
if
immediate
they really
response.
love it or not, you know?
Right. And I think kids are the best audience members because they're brutally honest. If they're bored, they throw back their heads and go, I'm bored.
Yeah.
If they're having fun, they show you and they participate. And that actually changes it when you're performing because it's like just add water. It's that magic ingredient that totally changes the whole recipe, of what you're doing. So I still do a lot of that. I still do a lot of writing, composing, writing stories, plays, musicals, and recording. And I still do some performing as well. I'm rehearsing for a play right now that's a new adaptation of Peter Pan, and it's really funny and it's really fun.
Oh, nice,
Wow,
nice.
Yeah,
that's great. I'm
Awesome.
looking forward to more what's coming up soon. Of
thanks.
Absolutely.
course.
Absolutely. So to wrap this up, this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of, or what does nostalgia mean to you? Like, how would you define nostalgia?
I'm curious what your answers are. Has anybody ever tossed it back to you and made you answer your own question first?
A couple times,
Yeah,
but not in a
yeah,
while. It hasn't
yeah.
happened in a while.
Well, if the answers are out there for listeners, then I won't make you repeat them. Um, but maybe I'll just go back and look them up and learn myself because you're probably the experts on that. For me, nostalgia is anything from the past that is beautiful, joyful, longed for, and cherished that can bring us joy when we revisit it, um, remind us who we are and why we do what we do, and give us renewed hope.
That's awesome. Great words to
That's
end
great.
on.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, Liz, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was a blast.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you both.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we'll let you know whenever this goes up.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Yes.
Of
Absolutely, for
course.
sure.
Yes, thanks so much again, Liz. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Liz.
Of course.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Bye.
You're welcome. Take care.
And it's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely enjoyed our time speaking with the wonderful Liz Filios from the Sunnyside Up show. Links to her website and her social media will be in the description down below for anyone who wants to connect with her or check out her work. Or hey, check out old Sunnyside Up show stuff on YouTube. There's definitely a lot up there. But yeah, we definitely
a
enjoy.
lot more acting and more things that she's been doing currently, and a lot more.
Yes, we always love getting to chat with Sprout people, and we loved getting to do that again with Liz. But keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. It's goodbye from us as well. Jake, take us home, my friend. What do we say?
Yeah, keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.